Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Helping the Brave. Let's bring in our guest today. All right. So your name is Ryan. How do you say your last name?
Kuperus.
Kuperus, but we're going to call you Coop because that's what we all figure out. Sometimes in the military, people call us what they call us, right?
Right.
Have you
Right.
always been called Coop?
Oh yeah, always been called Coop. Been a nickname since I was a kid, and the military especially cannot pronounce my last name almost to the point where I was just gonna change my name tapes to just like Coop. Right then we don't got a monkey with it,
Right.
But I've heard every bastardization of my last name that you possibly can have. So
I understand that nobody can say my last name for some
I
reason.
I hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hear you.
and sometimes they have some really nasty things they've said for my last names, and we'll just move on. That's how
Yeah,
people are, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't kill us, makes us stronger to a certain point. All right.
Yeah.
So first question I always ask, and then we'll get into everything we were talking about before we went live. What service did you join, and why did you choose that service?
I joined the Marine Corps, and I chose it honestly because the Army recruiter started trying to hustle me and my buddy, and he was just too much of a used car salesman, and you know, just badgering us. And we're like, dude, buzz off, man. And then we saw the Marine recruiters. We're like, wait a minute, the recruiters are way cooler, and their uniforms are way cooler looking, and we're like, oh, and they're the first to fight and all this other stuff. Like, yep, let's do that. Yep, all right, cool.
And
So
okay.
that was it.
And how long were you in? 17 years?
About 17 years, yeah,
Okay.
and a bit.
And a bit. Like, see, I was in only 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days, but who was counting?
Yeah, who was counting, right? Yeah,
Yeah, and
I
I
mean,
was. Go ahead.
I had some broken time in there, so I got out after my first four, did the reserves, and then got sick of college and playing lacrosse, and decided to go back into shooting people in the face. So had about a year and a half of broken time, and then came back in.
Gotcha.
And
By the way,
yeah,
I was in the Navy. I was a corpsman, so Marines are my
thanks,
people.
Doc.
Yeah, Marines are
It's
my
all
people.
right. My brother's a submariner, so I get it.
That's okay. That's okay. That's not the same as a corpsman.
No, it's not. No, dude, you are my people, Doc.
Yeah,
Right? Like
exactly. Yeah.
I got you, man. I
Even
got
though
you.
you're Czech say Department of the Navy, we won't talk about that.
The men's department. I mean, what are we doing?
That's all right. Yeah, we could be here all day.
Yeah.
All right. So you were in. What was your MOS? What did you do while you were in?
I started in the infantry, and then I moved over to Recon and Force Recon.
All right. And then were you enlisted?
I was enlisted.
Officer?
Yep.
Okay.
No, yep. I was enlisted.
Well, you say you went to school, so I didn't know if you were
Yeah. No. I wouldn't make a very good officer. I mean, I barely made a good enlisted man. You know what I mean?
I don't know. So I assume you got deployed during the period of time.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
And you go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I did five deployments. So.
Wow. So where were you stationed?
I did my entire career at Camp Lejeune.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank God it wasn't back in the 80s to early 90s, huh?
Dude, I mean, yeah, right. I mean, the water's still not good. What are you getting me? No, thank goodness for that. But yeah, I did my entire time at Camp Lejeune. So I got lucky on that front.
I was supposed to go to Camp Lejeune, but I got stationed at Camp Pendleton.
Yeah. I did enough time out there at Pendleton, like BRC, the basic reconnaissance course out there for me, it was down in Coronado.
Mm-hmm.
But did train up in Pendleton. I did CCRBs out there. I did enough time out there to know that I did not want to be stationed in California. Like I would have taken Okinawa over California.
Really? Day. How come?
Because if I'm not going to have rights, and I'm not going to be able to hunt the way I want and outdoor activities the way I want, I'm just going to do it out on the Pacific Rim or be stationed out on the Pacific Rim. Before I found out I was going to be medically retired, I told the monitor I was going to volunteer to go to Okinawa because I'd spent so much time on Lejeune. I knew my time was going to be up, as they say. So I was going to, if I went to Oki, I could have done some time there and came back and retired out of Lejeune anyways.
No, I'm just the whole rights about California. And so I'm here to fight because I also do a talk radio show here. I'm in Modesto, California, by the way. So I'm used, everybody's like, why haven't you left? And the reason is because I want to fight. I want to get California golden again. I'm tired of how far it went with who's been in charge. And I hate to tell you that the people who messed it up was Ronald Reagan who started, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger unfortunately messed it up also. That's why one.
Dude, I mean, what's
What
that
I'm getting
big
at is they're trying to fix
deal?
things. They're trying to fix
Yeah,
things as a Republican, and they messed it up. And then
right.
that's why we've had one party rule pretty much since Arnold
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger.
and there's great people in California. I mean, it's beautiful there, right? Don't get me wrong. There's up in the man. I didn't even know there was rednecks in California until I went to the Fresno Valley. I was like, Jim, and look, there's farms here,
Yep.
right? There's rednecks out here. What's going on? You know?
The Central Valley is where I'm at, and we are as red as it can get.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. And so these people are surprised San Diego, Orange County, they're conservative. They're not it's LA and the coastal places all the way up. That messes with everything. And
it's always the big cities.
Yeah, well, because there's so many of them, but that's all changing. Even San Francisco is going to be going red before you know it. There's a huge push right now. The Asian community has given up on Democrats in San Francisco. And that's a huge community. So
I mean, the people who don't give up on Democrats at this point need serious mental help. Like, let's be for real.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean,
it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean right now the Republican Party is the party of everybody. And people don't understand, and they need to change the name to the party of everybody, because that's basically where it's at. And you're right, because people just have no clue how the Democratic Party is not a Democratic Party anymore. It's not. The Republican Party is the Democratic Party of the 50s right now.
You are absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And people don't understand that, and they need to realize that. And the only reason I bring that up is because I deal with this kind of talk all the time on talk radio, and people, I've been like, you don't understand. Pretty much all of us are in the middle. There's just these little 1% fringes on the outside that are so loud that people think we're that way when we're not.
Yeah. I mean, big cities, they breed pestilence, disease, and liberals, right? Like these people, I mean, shut the power off. Shut the power off, right? EMP goes off. Guess what? They're all going to die. Right, they don't know how to grow their own food. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to take care of themselves. Like that. Most of them don't even know how to drive cars. And they're these ideas that are just they're living in this vacuum, right? In this unrealistic reality. And like I say to people all the time, like once you unplug from the matrix, right? And that's what it's really like. Unplugging from the matrix, like it's you see the world for what it is. The country.
Yep, and that's so true. And where are you located right now?
Right now, I'm actually in Louisiana. I live in North Carolina. I'm down here in Louisiana on a hunt. So we're having a good time down here. We blew up some Firebird targets this afternoon with my buddy Tom Jones. He's the one who had us down here, and we're getting ready to go do some coyote hunting tonight. So it'll be a good time.
All right, so you're in North Carolina. And how long have you been in North Carolina?
I moved there. Essentially, I got stationed there in 2000. And other than my short stint in college, I have not left.
Wow. Now, is there any? I kind of want to get at what we were talking about, PTSD and other stuff, and what you do.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you want to talk about your service before we move on? Because it seems.
No, I would prefer to talk about, what we were talking about prior. I mean, honestly.
Okay. So, but one thing I want to get out, you were medically retired in 2017.
Correct.
When you were medically retired, did you get all the disability you should have gotten when you were medically retired out?
I did. But the process for me was, my med board took probably twice as long. I mean, probably quadruple as long as most people because, like I said, I'm a Recon Marine and an infantryman, and guys who knew me in service, I know them a hard ass. And I don't walk around with the woe is me, right? Like I'm 6'4", I weigh 245 pounds, and I look like a strapping man, but I'm a medical nightmare, degenerative discs in my neck, multiple TBIs, compressive fractures in my spine, arthritis, slap tears in my shoulders, right? And we just go down to the floor and we'll just keep on going. But when I walk into a doctor's office, right, or people see me, right, they're like, there's nothing wrong with that guy. And that's just because I am not a woe is me guy. Like I'm not, oh, look at me, look at my injuries. Oh my gosh, I've got this going on. Like that's not who I am. That's not my personality. So a lot of these doctors are like, I mean, my medical record, right? Because I broke my femur, my back, fractured my forehead, been blown up a bunch of times. I had like 5 surgeries, just like I said, medical nightmare. You know what I mean? My medical record's like,
Mm-hmm. I was
yay.
Corbin. I know exactly
And
because mine's pretty much that thick from helping people. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And people just look at me and they're like, yeah, he's full of, there's nothing wrong with that guy. Right. Because of my demeanor, even if I put my Reconly and Marine Pride to the side and go in there and try to be what was me, it still doesn't work.
Right. I understand. I totally understand. Most vets who are like you, like myself, we're always, I'm fine. Move on. What I mean? We're okay. We got somebody else who's worse than us to take it, even though there's major issues wrong with what, and I don't mean that wrong, but I'm just saying the people who need the help are the ones who don't get the help.
Correct. Yeah. Just like kind of what we were alluding to before we started,
And we can keep going there. We can go back there, but we were just saying that the system's so messed up. And you were saying because there's so many malingerers, even though they write that stuff in the charts and let people know that that's what they think. But the problem is the whole system itself is messed up. I mean, 100%. In general, if you have something wrong with, PTSD, you got to go through these, first appointments with this RN, and then you got to go to this other person who's a social worker. And then you got to then get your appointment for maybe behavior health or PTSD, through the VA or community care. But we're talking, that's 4 months.
Yeah.
If they don't, and that's only if they don't cancel the appointments on you.
Right.
Because I have another guy I know who's
schedule. They try to they don't talk to you. They just reschedule, and you can't make it, but it's your fault. Like I'm lucky. I'm lucky because I have TRICARE, and I go to the VA once a year, and they're like, how are you? Well, do my physical, whatever. Right. Like, nothing's changed. Right. I'm not miraculously going to get better. You know what I mean? Just what's going to happen? I'm going to start. The discs in my back are just going to start fluffing out, and I'm going to go back to it's like when you went to to get your hearing test done, and they're like, we're going to reset your baseline. Why would you do that? Why would you do it? Like, I got fired from the chiropractor on Camp Lejeune because he's like, every time you come in here, your pain level is a 7, right? But it's not getting better, right? I'm like, it's a 7. Right. When I came in the Marine Corps, my back didn't hurt. Now I have all these issues wrong with me. And yes, after I leave the chiropractor, it feels better. But every day I wake up and I am in pain. Are you telling me that I need to reset my baseline? I live in a scale of 4 to 7 or 10 every day. And so now I need to reset that to 0. Do you understand how fundamentally flawed your thinking is? And he's like, I don't want to see you anymore. Because you're not getting better. So that affects your pay? Is that? I mean, that must have been what it came down to, right? So I didn't see him anymore.
And that was the on base one.
That was on base. Yeah.
See, I'm lucky. I'm in Modesto, so we have a clinic, but we don't have a chiropractor close. So I go to community care, and totally. I mean, the same because they ask you your numbers, and you're like, okay, well. Because I have an issue that I've had in my neck and this thing that I've had since I was in, and I've just dealt with it for years and years and years. And then finally I went through, my wife has Kaiser. So I've been going through Kaiser, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to move all my stuff from Kaiser over just in case, because when she retires, there's going to be like a little period of time we won't have it until we're at retirement age. And I'm like, I'm going to get my stuff over for VA just in case I need it. Right. And something else.
Yeah.
And then now I'm going through everything, and they're like sending me to everything. And they're like, okay, well, you need total knee replacements. They're a bone on bone. Only reason it doesn't hurt on your right one as much as the left one, because there's Madden rule. It can only hurt in one place at one time the worst. I'm like, really? Okay. And, just stuff like that you don't, I knew I had issues, but I didn't know they were that bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's the same like
Yeah.
you're talking about, where you're not going to cry about it. We're just going to go through life and deal with the way with what we're dealt with, and we're just going to
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
on. But doesn't
100%.
mean we don't deserve the benefits that somebody gets because they got yelled at and they're at 80% disability. And then my niece's husband, who was blown up a couple times, is only at 80% disability.
Right. Right. I mean, that's a problem.
Yep.
Right. Like malingerers are a problem. And you know what? And I mean, and there's not a nice way to put it, right? Like when I walk into the VA in Wilmington, North Carolina, my PSTDs, right, go through the roof, right? It's like before you have PTSD, right? Your PSTDs. So my PSTDs go through the roof because that's all I see is malingerers, right? And so you got the guys who are there, right, and they got the Vietnam veteran hats on, and now knowing, right, like the things that but I'm like, did you serve in Vietnam? Or did you serve during the time of Vietnam? Were you in country? Right? Were you in country doing anything actually? Right? Especially guys who are doing the thing, right? But were you in country or just in during that time? Because in our era, right, it's going to be guys are going to be wearing the global war on terror hats. Those will be the next one that come out, because I was in during the global war on terror. But were you in Afghanistan? Were you in Iraq? Were you in any of these places where we've been fighting the global war on terror? Because it has truly been a global thing, right? Did you do anything there? When you were there, did you stay on the fob the entire time and you heard a mortar go off once upon a time? Or were you actually out slinging it in the middle of the shit with everybody else? I mean, right now you could be a supply guy on a logistics convoy, right? And like, to me, PTSD, right, is definitely, there's correlation between PTSD and your level of training, right? A supply guy who goes out on a convoy to a forward operating base somewhere out in the netherworld, right? They hit an IED and there's a complex ambush, and this dude's not prepared for any of that, and now he's seeing people blowing up, dying, all that stuff, right? He's gonna definitely a poster child for PTSD, right? But your infantrymen, your combat arms MOSs, right, soft guys, and all that. We have higher levels of training, so it takes more. Like, everyone has a breaking point,
Mm-hmm.
Ours is just higher than most people's. You know what I mean? And so I'm not saying them supply guys and them guys who are in those situations, those extraordinary situations, aren't going to have that, right? But there's people who are sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, I got yelled at by my drill instructor. Now I have PTSD." Well, you know what, bud? The VA needs to sit there and say, "Yeah, okay, well, you're not 100%, right? Because you're catastrophically, you can't get out of bed every day, this and that and the other thing." Because we all know that's a line of freaking malarkey, right? All right, you're not 100%. You're 10%, right? Because your drill instructor yelled at you. And that's what you signed up for. That part, So
I know, but my son, my son is in the Army right now. And when I went to his boot camp, and he was talking about what I could not believe it. Because when I was in, they had just stopped when they were able to touch you. Okay. So they would have people lean against their hands. I'm not touching you. You're touching me, shit.
yeah, yeah,
So these people who can't handle being yelled at, and what I went through. But I'm also on the point where, see, I relate more to, so when I do events, we do this Operation Firewalk to help vets and everything else. And last year we did it, and I was just a big push for vets only. Well, and they were like, "No, we need to have first responders." I'm like, "Yeah." And then, please don't take that wrong, anybody watching this, but I'll get to my point. But then I went through, so I thought I had I have a photographic memory, but I have graphic detail of what I saw at Camp Pendleton with what I dealt with as a corpsman, as an EMT during the day. I mean, at night that we did. And I'm not like, okay, I have major issues, blah, blah, blah. But I was talking to people. I'm telling, this is what I remember. This is exactly. And they're like, "Dude, you have PTSD and you have no clue that you have PTSD." I still see this moment. There was one guy I took care of screaming that I still can hear the screams, but it was one of those things where you're just medical. That's what I'm used to. I didn't want to be in the medical field after I got out, because of that's just not what I wanted to do anymore.
yeah,
But what I'm
yeah,
getting at is, you have combat where you are, then you can have other people who have PTSD who were never in combat, but it's because of other stuff that has happened. But it shouldn't
right,
be just because I got yelled at.
Right.
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 And that's kind
Yeah.
of what
Right.
we're
Right.
saying. I
Yeah.
don't want people to think
Yeah.
that you're saying you have to be in combat zone and only this for this issue. You're just saying
Yeah.
it's different for
Absolutely.
everybody level for your training, what is
Absolutely.
happening. But what we don't want is people who are lying about stuff, trying to get
Right.
benefits. But I'm
Right.
also on the other school of that, just Coop for myself. I'd rather get everybody to have it so everybody gets it. Are you following me here?
Dude, I'm with you. I'm
Okay.
gonna tell you why I'm with you, right? Because right now, I mean, look at, and I'm gonna bounce back and forth real quick, right? But look at all the wasted funding that Doji is uncovering, right? And everybody knows, right? Everybody knows that there is massive waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, right? Take the Pentagon, $6 million they're spent on sushi every year. Why in the flip are you getting that much sushi delivered to the freaking Pentagon? What makes you right? But there is massive waste, fraud, and abuse all the way down, right? This is top level stuff.
Right.
Go all the way down to go in the Serve Mart where they spend $40 for a Right in the Rain pad that should cost $5, or a screw for an aircraft they're buying, the Air Force is buying for $600, which you can buy at Ace Hardware for 50 cents, right? It goes all the way down to the bottom. So the very last, and obviously you just heard me say that they need to revamp the system and
Right.
look at people. But guess what? Of all the people who rate benefits are people who signed the blank check, which we did. Whatever your MOS was, okay? Whatever your MOS was, we did. Nobody else did, right? We did that. Whether you're an admin, supply, Delta Force, doesn't matter, right? So we're the very last people who should have anything cut from us to help us. Because you want to know what? The United States government, right? Like when I was a kid, I wondered how Vietnam guys felt. And our generation knows, because our war was twice as long, our withdrawal was twice as effed up, right? And the government broke their promise to us, right? How many guys did you see get NJP during your time in service for losing some mundane item, right? Iron sight, ACOG, whatever it is. They got NJP'd for it. And we left billions of dollars of gear in Afghanistan that got brought back to China to be reverse engineered, or our enemies are now using them against us, right? I mean, freaking Hillary Clinton sold stingers to the freaking Libyans or whomever, right? And it shot down a helo full of SEALs, right? These are real things that happen, right? So us people right here, you and I, and the veteran community, right? We're the last people should have any funding pulled from us.
No, we
right?
need to have more.
There's plenty of funding to go around. They need to cut the freaking fat like they're doing, or they're identifying. They haven't cut it yet, but they're identifying it, right? And so cut it, and then you can apply it to us, because we're the last people who should ever have anything taken from us, because we're the ones who decide to support and defend. You know what I mean? And let's go down to our police, first responders, right? And that, they have had a rough go of it the last freaking 10 years. I mean, last 5-6 years, especially.
The last 4, especially.
Right. Last 4, especially. And that's why, that goes into what we do, with the reason, right? That's why we are involved. We're like, look, we're not just going to do veterans with this thing. We're doing first responders too,
Right.
So,
and that's kind of where I've gotten with what I'm doing, because of the fact that I relate more to first responders, because of how I dealt with what I dealt with when I was in the service, and I could see what they go through and what what we saw and different things. It might not have been around a mortar or something else caused the damage that we took care of.
Yeah.
And I tell a few stories of and people are like, holy cow, how'd you deal with that? It's like, at the time, I remember taking care of one guy doing what, and I was eating an apple. You know what I mean? Just like, because I'm like, that's how I dealt with it. I had to eat something while I was dealing with it. And people go, how can you do that? It's like, that's how I deal with it right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, a fireman didn't sign up to Narcan people, the same guy 5 times in a week, right? That's not, he signed up to fight fires. He didn't sign up to do that crap. Like, I was on an internship before I retired as a hunting guide, and one of my clients had a heart attack, and I did CPR on the guy for 30 minutes, and this guy was a lifelong smoker. It was probably it was terrible, right? So 30 minutes before EMS showed up there, I'm doing freaking CPR on this guy, And, and so I mean, I get it. That's what, part of the thing. He ended up dying. If he would have lived, I probably would have got a Navy Marine Corps medal, but I got a NAM just for trying to save his life, for that. But so I get it. First responders, they see some seriously twisted up stuff, right? Like firemen. If a car rolls down the road and a family and their kids are sprawled out all over the road, what do the firemen see? Did they go to the fire academy to see that? No. EMTs know they might see that, but the firemen didn't sign up for that,
Yeah.
So,
but even the EMTs, or paramedics, whatever. Because when I was in, you really were a paramedic. You just were, because when you're military, you're always more than what they have you signed up for.
right.
Because you can do more and they can't sue you. But what I'm getting at is I want there's so many veterans out there who deserve these benefits, who don't have them, and their life changing. There's so many things that these benefits that are available for people with 100% disabilities to start a business, do this, do that, different things that they hide from us. And maybe I don't want to say hide from us, but just don't tell us that they're there. And my big push
absolutely don't.
They don't what?
You're right. No, they hide it. They hide it.
Well, so my goal is through Helping the Brave, which I've just decided is to get all that information out there on the website that we're creating, and to also grow that to help people get their benefits than other things, and do a whole vet system, which is rating for companies that deal with veterans. You know how you have a Yelp score? Well, we're going to create a vet score so that we can, the companies who say that they are here to help us and they take advantage of us, I want us to be able to put that out there so people know which ones to go through and not. Because you know what I'm talking about. There's companies who say they have that veteran in their name or Unite, whatever, different things. And they're like I'm in the mortgage industry. I deal with them all the time. And they're like the worst companies to deal with because they charge so much money. And it's not that they're bad overall. It's just the points they charge are ridiculous.
Yeah. It is a great cause. I mean, we just finished our first full year in operation. We took over 100, I think it was 108 veterans, first responders, and their kids hunting and fishing in 8 different states. And our bank account was north of like maybe $10,000 one time. So balling on a budget is how we did it. But when I take, when you take, firemen, right? Firemen, let's say you took a fireman, EMT, and one person from each of the services, right? You put them together for a weekend in the outdoors, hunting, fishing, right? We call it ecotherapy, right? That's how we can get, ecotherapy, because is what it is. That is what it is, ecotherapy. And we do that at the end of the weekend, they're going to be best friends. They've expanded their network, right? Then inevitably they've learned, if they've never hunted before or fished before, they're learning how to hunt and fish, how to skin gut quarter clean, how to do it, a new skill, new friends, and that helps heal people, and what you're doing, that just falls right in line with, the community of heroes that are in this nation, right.
And I think we're brave more than we're heroes, because you don't think you're a hero for what you did. You were brave for what you did, because brave people run towards stuff. I mean, people call us heroes, and that's why when I found the name was still available, because every hero thing was taken available for all the. But I'm like, brave. We're more brave than anything else. People call us heroes, but I think we're more brave than anything else. Back up a second, because you talked about your company, but you didn't say how you started it.
All right, yeah. So our nonprofit 501c3 is the Reason Outdoors. So when I first retired, me and my friend Tony Cowden, he's an SF guy. He's done a lot of other work. He and I had done some hunts with some other nonprofits. I've sent a lot of people on hunts with nonprofits, and none of them were kind of wanted to do what I want to do on the East Coast. So he and I were like, well, let's do one here. The timing wasn't right because that was 2017. And then 2 years ago now, he was like, hey, how about we mentor some veterans in the backcountry, right, for a hunt? We can't guide, right? That's illegal, right? So let's mentor them, take them with us, right? A buddy system type thing.
You can't guide?
So in a lot of Western states, you have to have a guide license. Like I'm a licensed guide in North Carolina, but not in like Idaho or Montana or whatever,
Or like
right? So,
Colorado.
right, yeah. So you can do a do-it-yourself hunt, but
Right.
I can't say I'm going to guide somebody out there, right?
Gotcha.
Because that's technically illegal. So we're like, let's mentor some guys. So we're like, let's do it. We found the guys, and then we were like, dude, why don't we just start this thing? Because prior, when we were going to do it, we went down enough down the road where we had a lawyer who was doing our paperwork, and then he had his own nonprofit too, so he was doing his own thing and kind of fell off the wagon, and it was for a good reason. But we're like, let's start this thing. So we did. And usually the IRS takes a long time to approve anything unless they want money from you. And so we submitted the paperwork, and like 2 weeks later, like, boom, you guys are good to act as a nonprofit. So we're like, oh crap, let's start raising funds to go to Idaho. Our very first hunt was an Idaho backcountry hunt in Unit 39, which is like 5% success rate. And literally, probably the second hardest hunt, a backcountry, elk hunt is probably the second hardest hunt you can do in the lower 48. And yeah, we learned a lot on that hunt. We took 8 guys out there. We had 2 cameramen, 6 shooters, and we ended up getting 2 elk, 2 mule deer. So we did fairly well. And we should have 2 more elk down, but we had some mishaps as usually happens. And so that was our first hunt, and we've been off and running since then. For us, we wanted to set ourselves apart from other people who hunt, where it's not just, we take guys hunting and we kind of just send them away, right? Like folks, people who hunt with us, right? We want to teach them, right? This is how we glass. This is how we track. We're on the East Coast. This is how we hunt
Hold on. For
whitetail.
people who don't know, that means looking through binoculars.
Yeah, binoculars and spotting. So it's
Just
looking
messing.
for elk when you're in the
I know what
mountains.
glassing is. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't know who these
yeah.
people.
No,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you. Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. So, here on the East Coast, we got this year we had 2 teams in the Onslow Predator Challenge. So, one team, those guys had hunted last year. So they have a team leader who took them and taught them how to call in coyotes, how to use thermals, and how to shoot off tripods. This year we had 2 teams, and same thing. So those 2 teams will come next year, and they'll be teams again. We'll bring in a 3rd team, but having guys stay actively involved in the organization, we just don't cast them to the side. Thanks for the hunt. You guys did great. Talk to you later type thing. If guys want to be a team leader, so to speak, and bring guys on a hog hunt, right? The team leader will have been a guy who's hunted with us once or twice, who, has the same values and knows our mission and what we're doing, right? And so they take some guys down to Georgia to hunt hogs because they love to hunt hogs. So we have that. We want people to stay involved and to grow the organization that way as a big family, right? Because that's what the veteran first responder community is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is a family, whether guys think so or not. And it's not just, you don't have to just be a recon guy or a soft guy or an infantryman. You can be an admin guy. It does not matter, right? Every single person, veteran, first responder, knew that when they signed up to do what they were going to do, that one day they might lose their life or be catastrophically injured, and so we want to bring them together. We want them to get in the outdoors, right? Because when I was home after my Humvee accident, feeling sorry for myself, drinking booze, eating pills, right? I grabbed the bow and I was hobbling around the woods with a back brace and a cane, and that's where I found my healing. And we want to spread that to everyone that we can.
All right. So, how do you get people to hunt in states that out when they're out of? So, let's back up. So, do you take anybody on hunts that are veterans or first responders, or is there certain requirements that they have to be able to? You know what I mean?
No, if you're let's say you're a double amputee, right? Obviously, a backcountry hunt might not be the hunt for you, but a hog hunt, or a deer hunt probably is. So we have page on our website, or section on our website where you can fill out a little inquiry and send it to us. Or if you look us up on Instagram or Facebook, or you can find us there and send in inquiry. So there's no restrictions, so to speak. And I mean, heck, if somebody was like, "Hey, I'm blind and I want to hunt," I'm going to be like, "All right, hang on. I know a friend of mine runs another nonprofit. He has a system. Actually, I could probably do it now. I could put a phone scope on the little doodad on the gun, and I can look at my phone and I can direct him where he needs to be to shoot an animal." Right? Like, that's the level of passion that we have, for the veteran and first responder communities, that we're going to try to do whatever we can to get them in the outdoors.
And what does it cost somebody to sign up?
Doesn't cost them anything.
How do you? So you guys pay it through donations?
Yes, we take. Oh yeah. So we take donations.
I'm just trying to find out, because if somebody wants to go on a hunt, they don't pay for a license. They don't pay for any of the stuff like that.
No. Well, I'll be brutally honest with you. So it depends on what our budget's looking like at that time, right? If I'm like, "Hey, you need to just pay $100 for your license, and we have everything else covered." We try to cover everything for the whoever's hunting and fishing with us. We try to pay for everything. I mean, if we can't do everything, like maybe they have to buy a license, maybe. But we're growing, and
right.
Fundraising is a continuing action, as we say, in the military. So we want to be able to, like, some guy from, California, right? So Ed calls me up and says, "I want to come hunting with you." Right. And I check things out. I'm like, "All right, here, let me know. Here's your plane ticket. Come hunt with us." Or maybe I say, "If you can get to me," in the case of I met a guy in the Danish army. He was a Danish Recon guy. I became friends with him in 2017 at a Wounded Warrior event in Scotland. And I said, "Listen, if you can get here stateside, if you and your friend," said, "bring a buddy." Right? We always use the buddy system. I'm like, "If you and your buddy can get stateside, I have everything else covered for you." And that's what we did. Wow. So we try to cover everything. We're getting there. One day we'll be there. One day, every single thing.
How do you get your donations? Do you have any type of sponsorships? I mean, do you have anything that you guys do to get people?
Yeah. So we've done a couple fundraisers. We do a bunch of giveaways. We have a giveaway going on right now. And you can find that on our website and on our Instagram. The giveaway right now is for a year of labs and TRT from Atlantic TRT, and then Trump engraved Glock 19, a suppressor from Disavowed Innovations Group, and a supplement package. What's that?
It's a gun.
The Glock? No, it's not. It should be, though.
Yes, it should be.
It should be. Like, gold is all at SHOT Show. Gold stuff is all the rage. It's freaking insane. Yeah. So we do a lot of giveaways. It was a Trump
signature gun, so you would think.
Yeah. So a lot of giveaways. We got our board, and we have an advisory board. Group of guys who help us out doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and we are beating down the doors of people with construction. I mean, we're reaching out to everybody, and right now is like peak philanthropy time, so trying to hit up some companies, big, small, and in between, to see out there is some major CEO that is going to latch on to our nonprofit as his personal mission and be a major donor. We have not found them yet, but we're just we just keep working it.
It takes time.
It does. Absolutely takes time. I'm terrible at patience. But we're getting there.
Have you guys started a podcast or anything yet?
Oh, we have not, but we are working on it.
Well, if you need help on that, let me know. I've been doing this stuff since 2018. So
I absolutely will.
I'm just saying,
I
because
definitely
people
appreciate that.
people think that, because there's so many podcasts out there, but there's not. There's so many people there's only 20% of the podcast still going. The bank, because it's
Right.
so much work and people don't
Right.
realize that what's involved. But what you guys could talk about, how it helped other vets, and you can have the vets who come there talk about before and after. And
Yeah.
that can be a podcast that gets cut up and put everywhere else. That's what there's, because when we did our fire walk, we interviewed a lot of people, why they were there. But one thing we missed, which, because we're so caught up in the event at the end, and you talk to people, they're saying, "Wow, that was just amazing. I didn't think it was going to be so much." And then you talk to them 2 days later or a week later, they're like, "Yeah, it was good." And so what I'm getting
Yeah.
at is,
Yeah.
before they leave, you got to have video of them saying how great it
Yeah.
was and how it changed their life,
Yeah.
because it
And
does. Yeah.
yeah, and we have a YouTube channel as well, and you can see a bunch of the guys who have hunted with us. We have interviews on there with them, and one of the things that really hit home with me on our first hunt, we hiked from, I think, like probably 3,000 feet of elevation to, or maybe it was 5,000, 8,000 feet, whatever it was. It was a one of the most difficult climbs that I've ever done, hikes I've ever done, and I'm a summer mountain leader in the Marine Corps, and I did a lot of RNS, reconnaissance and surveillance in Afghanistan, and backcountry hunting, and it was one of the most difficult climbs I ever did. And me and this Marine were sitting up there, and he was like, "Hey, if it wasn't for this hunt, I would have put a pistol in my mouth 6 months ago and pulled the trigger."
Wow.
This gave me something to live for, something to strive for, and to that to me hit home, and it's like there's a helping our brothers and sisters is a noble cause, and and you're absolutely right with podcasting and talking to guys, I mean, look at Sean Ryan, how he started, just interviewing veterans, right? I mean, and people love that. People want to hear that. Normal American people want to hear the stuff that we've been through. Doesn't matter if you did 4 years or you did 35 years. People want to hear it. And because the fabric of America supports us, you can get lost in the news cycle and the rhetoric in the country, but the fabric of America loves us, so
Well, Coop, it was nice having you on the show today.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, actually. So besides money, is there anything else you need?
Yeah, I mean,
Word out?
get the word out, spread the word, share our posts and our mission. If folks have properties they want to hunt, it doesn't matter if it's 1 acre or 1 million acres. If you can only take one guy on your property to hunt, or you can take 100, that we welcome all of that. Anything, helps if and that's because having these guys and gals connect with the American people, like the small hunts are really impactful to guys. So, yeah.
I just got one question for you. Do you drink coffee?
I actually, so I drink everyday dose.
Well, no, the reason is because you don't have a coffee cup on your website. You have hats, you have T-shirts, but you don't have a coffee cup.
I'll work on that for you.
I'm just
I
saying,
will work on that for
make
you.
sure they're a little bit bigger. You know what I mean? Not those little dainty ones.
Yeah.
Because I was like looking there,
Serious coffee.
yeah, and you're and yeah. So I would just throw a coffee cup up there. You probably sell a lot of coffee cups.
All right.
No, it just a thought.
Yeah. So yeah, the reasonoutdoors.org is where you can find us. Or
That's where I was at.
Yeah.
Again, Coop, thank you so much for being on today. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well.